which I think I was talking about, people sometimes having a reaction to me and the difference. So yeah, I've always, generally I get along with people. People tend to like me a lot. I've been like elected to things I'm like that person where people kind of look to me, but I don't necessarily fulfill the shoes that people want. Like I have the abilities of a leader, but my type of leadership is, I think previously my type of leadership, like in childhood, like I had the abilities, but I didn't have the support I needed to understand that role. But anyway, I still now, right? Like I have a lot of, I don't know, integrity, patience, space for other people. And when I show up fully in myself, because I might need to, right? Because I always show up fully as myself in every moment, but sometimes, you have to show up like more forcefully as yourself in a moment because people like aren't awake to you and they're not listening. Um, like just really not listening, whether that's by like be on purpose by a choice or an ability to know how to respond to something or just plain being a crappy listener. Um, so sometimes, you have to show up as yourself. So when I do that with people, and I'll give an example, I had a couple of friends who I really enjoyed them. They're just fun, good hearted people. In getting to know them, there's a lot of unresolved stuff in their life, as a lot of people have. Not I That's just a normal thing for people to have issues in their families, in their life, in their past, and it's just never been discussed or talked about or dealt with. And so it's sort of a wound, and I think the older people get, the more those wounds are sort of leaky. And being the type of person that I am, being someone who leaned into looking at things in a deeper way because I didn't want to be a victim to them. I made a decision really early on that I didn't want to be a victim. So I leaned hard. So my life path has taken me, in large part to just, yeah, I don't know, the healing stuff to sum it up. So I got to know them really well and like they're lovely and there was just a lot there. And just nothing but love and enjoyment for them. And there came up one time, and I met them in real life. Like they visited my house, I visited theirs, like great, great friends, great people, smart, capable, all the things. And there was an issue that came up politically, and we pretty much agreed on most things, but a lot of people don't know how to disagree or how to figure things out. And so there was a point that came up, and when I stood my ground on that point and said, no, this applies to all of these people, this particular thing. Like that's the point of it. That's the point of the phrase of what we're saying. And not to be cryptic, it was all men. And I said, there's really two kinds of men. There's the kind of men who get it and they understand the purpose of that phrase. And then there are the ones who are, oh boy, oh boy. Then there are ones who are very reactive to it. And I would say that's the point, is the reactivity. Okay, hold on. Yes.
I'm full, but I want to eat the rest of this apple later.
There's snacks right there.
So what do I do?
You can just get snacks. You don't need to interrupt me for that.
So what do I do?
You can put it in the fridge. You can put it on a plate. You can get a napkin. So you boys don't need to interrupt me for food, right? You can just come out quietly. Here's the thing, we talked about it. I had to stop the podcast. They know. They're just young. Boys, the whispering, like I've had to stop my work. You can take that. What? Yes, I need to work. Okay. I got interrupted. All of this is going to it's so disjointed, these thoughts. I've had to, yeah. So anyway, so I stood my ground and I didn't insult anybody. In fact, I went out of my way. I literally spent I'm a bit embarrassed about how much time I spent, but not really because I loved them. And I wasn't necessarily shocked by their reaction, but I was because they took it so personal. Like they wanted me to anoint this one person exempt from that group. And I was like, no. Like that's first of all, it's not my place to do that. The thing is what the thing is, right? And I was trying to compare it to other things and they were like, yeah, we get it. But but that was the point, right? And it was a trigger and it caused a lot of anger because it was said that me believing what I believed and saying what I believed caused damage to this person, was damaging this person. And for me, my perspective on that, whether you agree or not, but I know it's my perspective. I don't feel wobbly in it. So therefore I wasn't triggered, I wasn't angry. I was just upset and hurt that they were upset and hurt, because it tells me about their wounds. And generationally, we had our Neptune and our Uranus in different generations. They were technically Gen Xers, but their outer planets were in the baby boomer generation. And this, I think, was a part of it, right? This sort of like this disconnect of like not getting that everything isn't personal. Like the political is personal, but in order to move things forward and to make points on things that are very difficult and painful, like sometimes you have to make a point. Like, it's like when people get mad at artists who do like guerrilla art shows. Like I've done stuff like that. It's like, dude, when the sheep are asleep, like sometimes you gotta like, wrangle the herd. Like you got to shake things up. Like sometimes you got to wake people up. So anyway, that's me. That's who I am. I'll just stand my ground. I'm not trying to be a dick. And if I get triggered or angry, like that's a totally different thing. That's me growing and learning. But there are some things I just know about myself and about the world, and I'm flexible even in my knowing. I can grow in my knowing, but there are some things that I know, about what's right and what's wrong. And usually standing up against rage and anger is typically the right thing. Because rage and anger comes from fear, and nothing can ever be learned in fear. So anyway, no matter how intelligent I am, no matter how well planted my arguments or perspectives, people are always going to get mad about it. People are always going to, and I've learned, and I get that really and truly is about them because I know what I'm saying and I know why I'm saying it and I feel fully, which is why I am steady in it. It's because I'm not questioning. Like there are some things I feel I have figured out and I've grown from those, and some of them are quite old actually. I've built my house on learning and on growing. So sometimes you just meet people who just are not where you are. They're walking a different path. Like I don't need to understand it, but when I meet resistance like that, like anger and hatred, and like to the point of like, insulting people and screaming at people, like all I can wish is the best. But like that's not my fight. That's not my dog. That's not my issue. And I'm okay with it. And maybe that's the most important part. Like you don't have to be completely whole or right or correct. It's not really about that. It's just about knowing yourself and moving forward in your own path in your own life. And I've gotten better at that. I've gotten better at letting people go. Maybe too good, but I'm always looking at examining. I don't think so though. I've learned how to hang on to people also. But holding on without strangling, holding on with freedom. How did I get here? I can't remember. From the body awareness stuff. I don't know. For me, it's all one big thing, the body awareness stuff. Listening to dreams is important when it comes to body awareness. Listening to emotions and feelings, not stuffing, right? When you get emotional, when you're going through stress, you tend to have a certain reaction. For me, as I started this podcast by talking about, it's low back stuff. if my low back is out, or I'm having any kind of, well, not out. If it's out, I've gone way too far. But if it's achy or feels a little crooked, that is not a coincidence. That is my body talking to me. And what my body tells me, and I know it because of the location, because it makes perfect sense when I look at Chinese medical theory, when I look at body structure theory, when I look at the emotions of the body and how they work through the body and how the body holds things. For me, the low back is the metaphor for holding too much up. I am taking on too much. I'm not supporting myself, or I don't have enough support from others to share in that, right? Sometimes it just is, but yeah, understanding that about my body and how it works has really been helpful in not getting those issues anymore. My back went out a lot more in my 30s. As I got into my 40s, I really didn't have that trouble. I've had it a couple of times. Once was after I gave birth. And it wasn't just because I gave birth, it was because of the circumstances after my birth. You know, which helped me to see that, yes, in fact, my back was out really bad because I wasn't being supported in the ways that I needed to be. And all that came to pass, you know. Anyway, the body's smart. That's what I'm trying to say. And the body is actually smarter than your frontal lobe, than your conscious mind could ever be, because it doesn't lie to you, ever. It's not capable. Your body's not capable of lying to you. You can lie to yourself. Your conscious mind can override your body. So your conscious mind is very powerful, and it can override your body. And that messaging, you can will it to go away. It's just the same way that meditation works. It's the same thing, but it's meditating like in a way to dissociate from your body. I think that's why a lot of times when people come to get poked by me in real life and I put my hands on them, and it doesn't have to be a lot. It could just be taking a pulse. It could be resting my hand on the back of their neck or their head or on their shoulder or on their knee or their leg or their foot or their ankle or their wrist. And suddenly they connect because of my chi, because of my energy, because of my connection. And suddenly they connect, and there's a big response often. Or sometimes it's the first needle. That's more often what it is. I cannot tell you how many times I have treated people where they have come in with some kind of stress issue. In particular, I remember several women who were having trouble conceiving, but definitely men as well. Where there's some kind of outpouring of something. It could be laughter, it could be crying, it could be intense sleepiness that just takes over immediately. But this connection to the body where all of a sudden the feedback loop isn't being stopped or blocked with intention. There is no intention, and when there's no intention, everything flows. That's why I like Westerners getting acupuncture, in particular Westerners, because it's a different way of being that we are very rarely encouraged or given the time and space to really connect to and learn how to allow the feedback loop to happen and how to move the ego in a way that it can relax and not need to be in control and explain everything and just experience. To experience is to be connected to the body. I have changed my language so much over the years in experiencing this medicine as a patient and as a practitioner. And not just acupuncture, herbs, to understand plants in a way that is truly medicinal. And then to understand that really food is, you can do a lot of it with food and lifestyle. I'm starting to recognize that with patients. I can sit all day and talk about this, that, and the next. And I can usually make a lot of progress. You know, acupuncture is kind of a manual way to do that, where I can sort of manually help things to happen. But eventually I do want people off acupuncture. It's not that, like, come do it. If you have the money, yeah, keep doing it. Why not? It's great. It's no effort. You just pay some money and you get this fantastic treatment. But the whole concept of acupuncture, in my opinion, is to see what the body is capable of without drugs and without surgery. I am not giving people, technically it is surgery. I mean, really technically, right? Because I'm piercing through skin and tissue and muscles. I'm affecting nerves manually, right? With a device, with a metal device. And please think of it that way, because if you let someone put needles into you, you better damn well know that they have full and complete training and not a weekend course. So there's a moment for you. And I love doing that because it's magical. It's fantastic. But the truth is, that's just your body. You're capable of doing all of that. That's why we have practices that are really old, like Qigong and Tai Chi. You'll hear a lot of people say that's the real medicine. But you can also incorporate that into everyday movement. You know, I've learned to do some of this with yoga. That's why I love the yoga that I do so much. They have helped me to connect into my body in a way that informs my everyday life. It's the same with meditation. I took meditation off the mat, as a teacher of mine said, and I moved it into my everyday practices. So I work every day to become present in particular moments. You can't stay present every single second. I mean, maybe you can. I can't. But I am much more present as a whole, and I'm much more calm as a whole in all situations because I have moved meditation into my everyday life. And so movement is kind of the same way. And movement, ultimately, how we move our bodies, if we move with intention. I know this sounds exhausting, but it's really not once you learn it. It's less exhausting to move with intention than it is to move without intention. So you can do it with acupuncture, you can do it with herbs, you can do it with diet, you can do it with movement, but aligning the body to have this loop of feedback and to just experience it, and then to experience that level of stuff through, I don't know, my favorite thing, sex. I'm doomed to live a life without sex, but I'm revealing way too much on this podcast. But that's me. This is my curse. But yeah, everything, right? Food, relationships, conversations, the world, the sky, the sunrise, the sunset, the grass, the snow, the change in temperature, the seasons around you, what's happening in the world, what people say, like not being numb to what's happening. I think right now in this moment, you know, this is really relevant. I think it's always relevant. But I think in a more potent way at this moment, it's very relevant because we need to be awake to what's going on. We need to not be asleep as much as we can. And you have to make room inside yourself for that, which is, I think that's my part in the revolution, at least for the moment, is helping everybody. I hope anybody who hears this, to wake yourself up, your body, to listen to yourself. And maybe that's what that whole rant was about. I don't remember what it was, about my friends and all that stuff. Like, you have to listen to your truth. You got to listen to you. You got to tune in. And how do you do that? It's not by tuning into your thoughts. To some degree, sure, integrate it, yes, but we have a lot of power with our thoughts. It's our body intelligence that we're lacking, that will guide us. That's how you know you're subconscious. Your body is literally below your conscious mind. It is your subconscious. So listen to it. Okay, I love you. I've talked too long. It's almost a half hour. Have a great day.